Hi everyone, and welcome to Wrestling Grade, where we review and grade each match and segment from Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and pay-per-views. This episode, May 28th, Monday Night Raw. Before we get started, be sure to like this video, leave a comment, and for more Wrestling Grade, subscribe. Alright, let's get started and talk about Monday Night Raw. Tonight's Raw was live from Richmond, Virginia, and opened with Braun Strowman coming down to the ring to cut a decent promo, basically saying that he is going to win Money in the Bank, and all the other competitors are going to get these hands. The crowd was really into it. Like I said, it was a decent promo. He was interrupted when Finn Balor came out, who says that he never lost the Universal title, and he wants to get back on top. He says he will win Money in the Bank. Braun tells him that he put up a good fight last week for a little guy. Finn slaps Braun, and Braun throws him across the ring. And as this segment was going on, I was thinking it's nice that Raw has started without an authority figure and or an impromptu match. But then, of course, Kurt Angle comes out and books an impromptu match between Finn and Braun, which is a rematch from last week. So for lacking originality, I have to give this opening segment a grade of D+. After the commercial break, we got the impromptu match between Braun Strowman and Finn Balor. Kevin Owens came out to the announce table to join the commentary team. During the match, Owens taunted Strowman and Balor from the announce table. And this match was mostly Braun just beating up on Balor, who couldn't get much offense. There was a shoulder tackle into the crowd, which was pretty cool. And we did see some good high-flying stuff from Balor, as usual. Balor hit a coup de grace and went back to the top turnbuckle to hit a second one, but was knocked off the turnbuckle by Owens, causing a DQ. Owens hit Balor with a ladder outside the ring, and then attempted to do the same thing to Strowman in the ring, but got thrown out instead. Strowman threw the ladder at Owens, more than halfway up the entranceway, just barely missing him. Nothing really special about the match itself. Their match last week was certainly better, but this did do what it set out to do, which was to build towards Money in the Bank and keep Strowman looking strong. So I give this a solid C. Backstage, we see Owens trying to leave the arena in a hurry, but Kurt Angle stops him and books him in a match against Bobby Roode for later in the night. There's really nothing to this. I can't even grade it, so I'm just going to move on. Throughout the night, we got handheld backstage promos from all the participants in the night's main event, which was a gauntlet match for the final spot in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which I'll grade all the promos as if they were one segment a little later on. Sasha cut the first promo. She said that she needs luck to win the gauntlet, but that she doesn't need luck because she's the boss, whatever that means. So moving on. Next, we saw an Elias in-ring promo/concert in which Elias called this audience particularly disgusting, which I thought was great. He had the lights adjusted so that he didn't have to look at the crowd. He had his vocals adjusted higher so that he didn't have to hear the audience. He demanded total silence, which the audience, of course, did not grant him. This was a really good crowd. At least it was a good crowd at this point in the night. Elias threatened to leave, to which the crowd chanted, "Leave." Finally, Rollins interrupted, coming out for his IC title defense against Jinder Mahal. He threw Elias' seat out of the ring and points for Elias to leave, which he does. Elias is really great at working the crowd. He did a phenomenal job here as usual, and this was a good way to begin a confrontation between him and Rollins, earning this segment a grade of B. Next, we got the Seth Rollins vs. Jinder Mahal match for the Intercontinental Championship. This was a good match. They traded basic moves and near falls until Rollins was about to go for the curb stomp. Sunil Singh grabbed Rollins' foot from the outside and got ejected by the referee. While the ref is distracted, Jinder grabbed a steel chair and hit Rollins to get a close 2 count. Sunil Singh came back and got buckle bombed into Jinder and the turnbuckle. After this, Rollins had had enough. He grabs a steel chair himself and hits Jinder, disqualifying himself. He runs Jinder off with the steel chair and stands on the announce table. The segment ended with Elias coming out and knocking Rollins off the announce table and the stage with a guitar. Jinder and Rollins did a good job here. They kept the audience into the match, which was overall very solid. Not great that we got another DQ ending, but it's good to see Rollins actually getting into a program and a feud with Elias instead of just doing open challenges and helping Roman with Jinder like he did last week, which Roman was mysteriously absent from tonight's Raw, and I'm not sure why. Overall, this was all good. I would give it a solid B. Next, we saw Nia come out for a match with a random unknown wrestler, and before she could even get to the ring, Ronda's music hits, and she comes out to the announce table. This was very strange. I'm not sure if it was an actual match or really what this was. Nia demonstrated on this unknown wrestler what she's going to do to Ronda at their match at Money in the Bank. She had the wrestler put her in an armbar, then picked her up and powerbombed her. Then she leg dropped her and finally ended her with a rolling senton, all while taunting Ronda in between each of these moves, to which Ronda just sat at the announce table, smiling and smirking. Which begs the question, is this a feud for the Raw Women's title? Because it certainly doesn't feel like it. Nia then invited Ronda down to the ring to help the random wrestler. She does so. She goes down and gives Nia the serious Ronda stare. Nia laughs at her and leaves. This wasn't totally horrible. Nia was bearable on the mic, and she did do a decent job at transitioning into a heel. The problem is that she just came out of a feud with Alexa Bliss that was all about anti-bullying. Now she seems to be bullying Ronda, or at least taunting her like a bully would. I'm interested in this feud, but not because of what Nia and Ronda are doing. I'm curious to see how WWE is going to book the end of their match. I don't think they will give Ronda the title so soon or take it off Nia right away, but I also don't think they'll give Ronda a loss. So I'm interested to see how they handle this. Otherwise, nothing done here really enhanced this feud or enhanced their upcoming match, so I have to give it a grade of D. Next, we got another backstage handheld promo regarding the women's gauntlet match to happen later tonight. This promo came from Dana Brooks, saying that she's going to win the gauntlet match, of course, and she says that she's going to win because the odds are in her favor. She doesn't explain how she came to this conclusion in any sensical way. She's just standing in front of a whiteboard with mathematical equations on it. Anyway, moving on. Next, we saw a tag team non-title match between Matt Hardy, Bray Wyatt, and The Ascension. Matt and Bray win easily. This was a decent, hard-hitting match that meant nothing and had no story. After the match, we saw the B-Team watch from backstage, and they asked Kurt Angle for a title match, who says they can't leapfrog over the other tag teams. So they decide to invite the other tag teams to a Memorial Day barbecue celebration. Some of the stuff between Kurt and the B-Team was funny, but overall none of this was good, and it does very little to bring interest to the tag team division or the tag team titles. Plus, it is just sad to see Woken Matt Hardy, who has so much potential, in the position that he's in. Hopefully they move him on to bigger and better things in the very near future. This gets a grade of D-. Next, we get another backstage handheld promo, this time from the entire Riot Squad, who all claim that they're going to win the gauntlet match, which they didn't seem to recognize that only one of them can win in this promo, so this wasn't good. Moving on. Next, we saw the Kevin Owens and Bobby Roode match. This was a nothing match. The best thing about it is that it didn't end in a disqualification. Kevin Owens got an unexpected roll-up win, and then, as expected, Braun Strowman came out and hit both Owens and Bobby Roode with running power slams. This did nothing except reinforce Strowman as being unstoppable, and it gave Bobby Roode some TV time, whose novelty is quickly wearing thin if it hasn't already. The crowd is obviously growing bored of him. They were very quiet during this match, and this was all unnecessary filler. Grade D. Next, we saw Sami Zayn come out to give a public apology for last week's segment, and I feel like the writers of that segment should have been doing it instead. Sammy gets an A for effort here for his promo. You can tell he's really trying, but this feud between him and Bobby Lashley is just not working. Lashley has been booked and presented horribly since he came back. Case in point, he comes out here during Sammy's promo and challenges Sammy to a match at Money in the Bank, which Sammy accepts. They shake hands, and Lashley squeezes Sammy's hand so hard it drops him to his knees. Then he leaves. If not for Sammy's work on the mic here, this would be an easy F. This feud is not interesting or good. Grade D-. Next, we got the final backstage promo regarding the women's gauntlet match for the night's main event. This one came from Mickie James, and it was the only good promo. Mickie did a good job here, pointing to her experience as a 6-time women's champion. Having these backstage promos to hype the main event was a good idea in theory, but in practice, they were mostly cringeworthy. They just were not good overall, and they get a grade of D. Next, Drew McIntyre came out with Dolph Ziggler for a match against Chad Gable, which I thought was going to be a squash match, and I'm glad it wasn't. Chad Gable got in some decent offense, even though McIntyre mostly dominated. McIntyre hit the Claymore for the win, a clean win, and the match itself was decent. And what McIntyre and Ziggler are doing has my interest. I'm just hoping that they get into a long-term, interesting program soon. They really need a feud. I'm glad Gable wasn't totally squashed here, and I'm interested to see where McIntyre and Ziggler go from here. But my patience with it is wearing a little thin. So I give this a grade of C+. Next, we see the B team in the ring with several other Raw tag teams for their barbecue Memorial Day celebration. They give the other teams food and say that they should get a title shot. Naturally, the other teams don't agree, and this turns into a food fight that ends with the B team putting Rhino through a table. After a commercial break, Kurt Angle books a tag team battle royal for next week, and the winners get a title shot against Matt and Bray Wyatt at Money in the Bank. Nothing about this was good. Grade F. Finally, we get to the main event, which is the gauntlet match for the final spot in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Out first is Bayley, who cuts a quick, seemingly uncomfortable promo in the ring before Liv Morgan comes out at number 2 and the match begins. Bayley immediately scores a Bayley to belly and eliminates Morgan. Next out is Sarah Logan. Logan is also quickly eliminated after Bayley gets a roll-up pin. Morgan and Logan beat down on Bayley before Ruby Riott comes out at number 4. Ruby and Bayley put on a good fight here until Ruby hits a Riot kick and gets the quick pin. Next out, Brooke at number 5. Ruby hits another quick Riot kick and eliminates Brooke. Mickie James comes out next at number 6. Her and Ruby trade moves. Mickie hits a solid Hurricane Rana from the top turnbuckle, but Ruby gets a cheap roll-up win by pulling Mickey's tights. Last out is Sasha Banks. Few good moves here, but Riott and Banks have mostly a sloppy, clunky exchange until Sasha locks in the bank statement and gets a tap-out victory, putting her in the ladder match. By the end, the audience was pretty much dead. As far as main events go, this was underwhelming, especially if we compare this match to the most recent men's gauntlet match that we saw, which we should be doing. Sadly, the women just weren't given enough time here to make this a solid match, and it never got exciting. Grade D. So after tallying up all the grades, the final average for tonight's Raw comes to 4.6, giving them a grade of D for tonight's show. Not a very good Raw. What did you guys think of Raw? Let me know in the comment section below. And thank you for watching the very first episode of Wrestling Grade. I plan to be doing this for Raw, SmackDown, and the pay-per-views. Like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more to come. Thanks again. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for SmackDown Live. Take care.